Live.
Good evening and welcome to Let's Drone Out. I've been told I'm not allowed to go anymore. I'm required to be here because apparently no one else can make it work. But I've trained Curry up now, so any future delays, it's his fault. Jack is currently not here. I don't know if he's going to turn up. We'll find out. So I'm going to have to do the introductions instead.
Nice of him to let us know.
Tony, light a firework.
Oh shit, that is a proper firework one, isn't it? Cheers, Zero. Right, I've got to be careful of my
no removing any more fingers.
My thumb and move stuff out of the way because these scare me now. But cheers, Zero. Yeah. Oh, I hate these things now, but thank you. Bloody scary, and they're really hot, and it makes my room stink for days. Thanks, Zero. And bits go everywhere. That's quite big, isn't it?
It is quite big. Just
That's
don't
Valentine's.
burn yourself this week.
Right.
That's a noisy one too.
It's almost as bright as the sun, which we've seen this week, or at least today.
Oh.
I know. Can you believe it?
It's crazy.
Thanks, Zero.
Yes, joining me this week we have NJ.
Hello, everyone.
We have Tony.
Bonjour.
And we have Curry.
Hello.
And me. Yeah, it's actually there's been blue sky. Has anyone actually flown while there's been blue sky?
Yes.
Yes. I had to break into my field.
Oh, yeah, you were fighting the builders.
Yeah, my normal field, which you guys, if you saw the thing on Instagram, probably wouldn't have recognised it because when we went to the field, we had to go through that whole set of trees down a sort of thin lane, and then we had to hop over a stream to get to it. And all those trees have gone.
Bruce, right.
Now they put up a fence. But I found out a way to get in there if I just pretended I didn't go in that way and wandered through the woods and jumped over a different stream, then I could get into a field that way and very quickly fly 2 batteries and run away again before they spotted me. It's not ideal.
Do you think are they trying to keep you out? I mean, were your suspicions raised when there was a picture of a cat with an international cross sign through it? Was that a thing?
I'm not sure if they're after me directly, but they certainly don't seem to be wanting any. Interestingly, there was fences all along, but there was like no signs on it. You'd expect it to say like property of or no entry or whatever. So maybe they're getting a bit overzealous and just like we'll stick this up, see if it puts people off.
You don't think they're going to move? Because the last time I saw that near one of my local fields, a few weeks later they moved livestock in. So could it be that?
No, there's planning application in for new homes being built there.
Oh,
so that's what it's going to be. But they haven't. They've gone in. I've seen people around for months. Like the first thing they did was bizarre. They put up reptile fences in order to catch all the lizards, snakes, and other creepy crawlies, to catch them all and move them. Because I think what happened is they said planning applications in, and like loads of people complained because. Of course, people want new houses and stuff or places, affordable living, but nobody actually wants new houses going up near them. So when the planning application went in, everybody complained. And one of the things they cited was this is natural habitat for snakes and lizards. I think it's one of the country's leading areas where you actually find adders are only venomous snake. So they responded by putting up these black plastic fences everywhere. And apparently, because I talked to one of these volunteers that was collecting them, they create like heat, so the reptiles go and sort of sit near them, and then people come along with a bucket every day and chuck reptiles in and move them to a safe space. And after they did this for several months, it's like, yep, now we can carry on and build. So they've been digging holes and cutting down more trees and doing. I love
that basically nothing can stop them. That's just building, isn't it? Like,
no. I read the planning application, and it literally says there have been this many complaints and this many causes of concern about this planning. Planning was passed because it's like this is millions and millions of pounds. This is worth to people.
Where are you going to fly now? Have you found anywhere?
There's a couple of spots that I could use, but they're all like 40 minutes in the car, and where I am there, it's a 10-minute walk, so it's really convenient. So there's a couple of places that are protected in the woods, so I can still do stuff around the trees, but it's not like a big open space, so I'm a bit screwed there. So I'm going to go off and have a bit more of a look at places and see what I can find, basically, because that's all you can do. Really.
It's really annoying though, isn't it? Because there's all those complaints against that planning application, but it still goes through. But
yeah,
one
as soon as money and big business is involved, that's it. It goes through.
But one complaint about Hidden Valley, and all of a sudden, that's a planning permission issue, and we can't use that.
And NJ's field is gone, isn't it, because of one dog walker?
Literally 187 acres and 3 years of flying in the spot. And I think anyone who subs to my channel will know the spot I'm talking about, because I used to fly there. All my videos were produced there. And just in that 3 years, so much positivity towards flying and the people that interacted with us. And then one guy says they scare my dog, and that was it. He was adamant to get us kicked off. And in 187 acres, they couldn't find us one little spot. That was it. Wrote to the Woodland Trust, kicks up a huge fuss, and we came back, and there was no drone signs all over the place. So yeah, it's a terrible shame.
Yeah,
we'll have to just go back to flying over Gatwick. Whatever.
I do think this is the biggest problem now: is spaces to fly.
Well, yeah, it's like we the rules are don't fly near buildings and people and cars, and that's completely reasonable. But if you take away all the spaces we could fly, it's not much left to do.
And there's all this effort being put into making lists of places that we're not allowed to fly. All the effort with DJI updating all their
no-fly zones.
No-fly zones. There's all the NAT stuff and the drone assist app and the noflydrones.co.uk and all that kind of thing. It all says you're not allowed to fly here. There was the issue with was it Coventry, just flat, wanted
just no drones in Coventry.
Exactly. And there's not, the only real resource of a list of places that you can fly is the EMF Club Map. And that's still, you've got to be a member of that club and all that kind of thing.
And wear sandals and grow a beard. And fly around in circles.
Is that what I've got to do now?
You forgot the socks.
Oh,
there's the Yeti. How are you doing, working man?
Oh, I'm ever so sorry, Frank. If it wasn't for your call,
I was a little sleep.
Was it?
Yeah. The reason why I didn't answer your call is it took me a couple of minutes to realise I was holding my phone upside down. I was like, asleep.
It's not working. What's going on?
Oh my god, I'm on the ceiling.
To be honest, I'm surprised you managed to get on the call that quickly then, because usually all your computers are disassembled.
I was ready. I was,
in my dream, I was ready.
Yeah. I was ready. The computer's kind of switched on, but my phone was upside down and I was not awake. Well, no.
Dav in the chat has said, I can't fly in the forest that I used to anymore. Far too many dog walkers started giving me funny looks, and I could tell they were pissed off with the presence of my quads. It sucks. I was a member of the local club last year, but it was all old men flying LOS wings, and they frowned on me for flying FPV.
Yeah, we're just being pushed back underground, really, aren't we? The other thing I kind of hate, I don't really like flying on my own. I like having, people there. So you've got spotters and you can watch out for people. The places I've been flying now are literally farmers' fields out in the middle of nowhere, just to be away from everyone. And I'm just wary of any interaction with people now because of how I think they view us. That's also another problem. There's been a psychological effect. I don't know if anyone else.
Big time.
Don't give a crap. But for me, it's I hate the fact that I'm worried now, whereas I used to have people who look at it and were so excited for what we were doing. We now have, I think they're looking at me with very judgmental eyes, and that's just such a shame. But it's I can see why it's caused people to disappear out of the hobby.
Thanks, Mr. King. I'm not reading your comment out.
Tony likes Mikey on his helmet.
If Tony won't read it, Carry your kit and will.
I'm not
Thanks,
ashamed.
Mr. King. We're down to only. Oh no, I've got some sparklers over there. That's right. We're all right.
I've got a question
All right.
from Dale Kennedy. Quick question: what do you all think about the Tiny Hawk RTF kit? Good or bad? I've not got the RTF kit, but the only thing I'll say with kits is I've got a Tiny Hawk and it's a great little machine. You do need to change the quad props, which are a separate purchase, or it won't turtle. But it's a great quad. But the only thing I'll say with kits is this: if you're going to buy a kit, you're going to have to start replacing stuff as you get more into the hobby. So there are certain things like your radio transmitter that are worth investing in from the off. It's the same. I sort of say the same with goggles as well. Your goggles and your transmitter, if you buy right the first time, even if it's a little more money, that's it. That's the only purchase you'll really need to make. You know, quads will come and go, but you'll have the same transmitter, you'll have the same goggles. So with a kit, it'll get you going, but you may waste a little bit of money or have to purchase upgrades later.
Buy once.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also your goggles and transmitter don't end up in a tree, or you know,
depends how angry you are.
going into the ground. Yeah, true.
Well, your seat ended up in a tree once, didn't it, Jack?
yeah, about that. Yeah, I went out flying with me and Tony. Who knows what might end up in a tree? All we know is
you haven't
Tony's
thrown me up there yet.
definitely out of his tree.
Another good comment here from Batwoman FPV. Hello. Said Gigawatts and I were getting all the older guys at our club interested about FPV and quadcopters today. It was great seeing them actually engaging with us rather than giving us dirty looks. So there's the other side of the coin. I mean, that's great. You've obviously got quite a progressive club there. That's definitely not something I've seen with some of the clubs I've been to. But yeah, that's great.
You just need to find like a few of them to hand around the goggles that they're slightly open-minded, and they'll back you. I think, you know, especially the guys having been vaguely involved with a few clubs. The guys that run all the admin stuff for the clubs generally have a very wide range of interest and don't actually fly that much, so they're quite happy to ride along. And then we'll back you whenever there's an admin decision to be made that can affect you. That's my top tip for dealing with clubs. Find them and give them your goggles and give them a ride along.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's two clubs near me, and when I first moved to this county, I got in touch with them, and primarily, even though I was sort of this is probably about 5 years ago, primarily I was looking to somewhere I could also fly my helicopters, because I was doing that long before I started doing the quad stuff, and both of them were like, no, absolutely no helicopters here. So I didn't even pose the question about multi-rotors at that point, because they said, everyone that's learning helicopters just hovers over the runway and takes up a spot, which I always think silly, because you could easily mow out a section off to the side, which is what my old area club used to do for people that were hovering. And I mean, I'm not that person anyway. I'm long past hovering, but when people have these rules in their head, that's it. Those are the club rules,
But it's all right, because they'll run out of members at some point, and then they'll need someone to fill those members in a couple of years' time.
Why do the memberships? What happens? Why does it run out?
Because they die because they're so old.
People find other hobbies, obviously.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sitting in wooden boxes for long periods of time, that sort of thing. But there are, for everyone, because I've never been a member of the club, I've never been particularly interested. I guess I haven't found the right one. People and flying in circles. But I do hear from people telling me about their club, and their club is excellent because they all are into quads, or they're all into FPV, or they're more forward thinking and are quite happy to mix it up with traditional and stuff. And don't forget, we had what's his face, very northern guy from the BFMA on,
Andy.
and it was all about
Andy RC.
He's even more northern than Andy. It was all about, if you want to form yourself a club, you can do. And of course, these new clubs are coming in and they're doing like quad racing. He said that was one of the most popular affiliated club formations now, is like people that want to race quads. So they're out there. It's just where they are. And I do find that Somebody was telling me who I used to fly with in my field that he tried to join a couple of clubs and like they didn't get back to him or they weren't interested in him or they said we're full right now. So sometimes it's like some of them make it really difficult for some reason. You'd think they'd want to grow their membership and get people into it, but it's kind of like it's almost like a private members club where we're not accepting any more members right now because we're our little friends group and we don't want anybody else. But the good ones are out there as well.
Yeah. But then, then the other thing is you can start your own group, and like you say, I mean, that's
a group of one. That's just me in my garden.
We did think about doing that, starting a Let's Drone Out BMFA club.
Yeah.
For no reason other than to annoy them.
To run that, then please feel free.
Frank says that like he already knows he'd be instantly nominated for the position.
Obviously, it would be Frank and Frank that would do any of the management admin tasks.
Yeah. How's cloning yourself going there, Frank? You had any joy?
He's cloning me. He's too busy with that. Weirdo.
Yeah, I've got all your CT scans. I'll put you together at some point.
Stuck me in for another one on Tuesday.
Subservient Jack. I don't believe it can be made.
Oh my word!
That's the black magic that's involved. Yeah. There's quite a few comments in the chat saying that they're listening, even though they're with their other half on Valentine's Day. I think we're probably not making ourselves very popular with our other half.
Is it like that thing watching the football in church? You just got one ear and just burst out laughing for no reason.
These guys are on dangerous ground. I'm just sat in a completely different room from my wife, who has accepted that I am not available on a Thursday anymore. So that's all right.
Wow,
we've done wonders for your marriage.
Yeah.
Speaking.
I would like to shout out a few of the clubs that have been mentioned in the chat as being really open and friendly. So Hearts FPV, BHBC, so that's Beds, Hearts, Bucks, and Cambridgeshire. Facebook clubs, and apparently Hearts FPV is hopefully going to have a permanent field this year. The one of the earlier ones was EMHFC, which I can't remember what it stands for. Ainsford Heli Model Club. So they're really open. There's obviously places like Delta Hawks and Kent KQRC and what are the other ones? Anyone nominate any open and friendly?
I can certainly speak for BHBC because I'm one of the admins in that group over on Facebook. Really friendly bunch, and we've grown it to, I think we've got a couple of hundred members now, or somewhere in that region. So if you're within those counties, the Hearts, Beds, Bucks, Cambridgeshire territory, then do look us up and join. And I'm certainly, and all the other guys are in there and very active, so we help out and suggest spots, and we have lots of support there. So these groups do exist, and Facebook's definitely a place where you can find local groups. So
another one Gigawatts has put in the chat is 1066 MFC, which I imagine is in the Hastings area, I'm guessing. The mole suggests Gatwick Flying Club. Maybe not.
We're right near Gatwick. Hopefully, we're more than 5k away. Our club
4.6, 2.5 nautical miles.
I see. Can I just do a shout out quickly?
Yeah.
This is for Jenny. Mikey Dread says he loves you.
Doing Valentine shout outs now.
Yeah.
This could go wrong.
Very wrong, very quickly.
Yeah, hello to Andy in chat. He's a little under the weather today, which is why he can't be joining us. So get well soon, matey.
Yeah, mate. So HD mini quads. Anyone?
Yes,
Andy. I bet Andy would love to talk about this. Sorry,
I've been chatting with Andy quite a bit about this. I'm
not so sure he would really like to discuss them. He hasn't been having that much fun with them.
No, you're right. Yeah, he unfortunately one of his did set fire. It's the one that's the kind of center of the subject matter at the minute, because obviously there's now quite a few of these cine whoops as they're being dubbed. I've just received another one actually, which is that little guy. I don't know whether you can see that. This is the new little ditone cine whoop. They're becoming super popular. Sorry, that's not a whoop. That's just a micro.
I think we need the ducts, don't we, before we can call it a whoop?
Yes, we do.
Even though they're growing.
But yeah, certainly these tiny little quads with HD cams in. But yeah, very separate subject with the 2.5 without ducts. But the ducted ones, it's a really, I found it quite an interesting subject, and I've been talking an awful lot with Nate, who is Mr. Shutterbug for anyone who follows him on YouTube, and he's the guy who works quite closely with Beta FPV on there and sort of consults with them on their various designs. And you know, they produce some good stuff, but I know their most recent release, which is the 85X HD, there's been a few of them that have been catching on fire. And to be honest with you, I mean, my strongest suspicion with that is probably down to the fact that I think it's the tune that they provided with it is massively off the mark. Now, this mini whoop does come with BL Heli 32. Now, first thing I'll say is BL Heli 32 is massively over the top for a whoop. I really don't think it's necessary to be running a D-Shot 1200 protocol on something that small, but it's nice to have. The only issue is when you go to the BL Heli 32 protocol and things are operating at so much faster, you've got a much more increased chance of smoking your ESCs, which people have been doing. And the included tune on those, as soon as I saw it and saw that it had a D term of 50, I was pretty concerned. And what I did was to actually scrap the tune that was included, update it to the latest stable Betaflight, not Betaflight 4, just 3.5 point whatever it is the latest, and then go ahead and tune that from scratch. And where I got to with the tune, and I'll be doing a video on this later, was considerably lower, and it was locked and flew beautifully, was considerably lower than the PIDs that they provided. I know Andy flew his on the included PIDs because that's, you know, that's a normal reviewer thing. Usually if you're given stock PIDs, you go out and you fly what was provided, but those numbers in particular concern me. So I retuned, came up with a much lower figure, and it flew great. And I pushed the life out of it, and I had a great flying experience and absolutely no smoke. So I think that is possibly one of the problems with them, with that particular model. But I need to get in touch with Beta FPV and discuss it with them a little more. But yeah, I'll be doing a video on that particular quad.
They look really good flying inside, but not so great footage outside. I liked Andy's stuff flying inside.
Yeah, I flew it inside a couple of days ago, an indoor meet, and really it's the 85X is a bit too big for the indoor stuff. It's, you know, it's a 3 claimed 4S micro quad whoop. I think 4S is just overkill. If you pair it with the right
power, are they talking for that 4S?
I don't know, because I was flying it on 3S and 350 milliamp and getting 3 minutes and all the power I needed to freestyle it. So I think 4S is just bonkers.
At that point, like most of the battery pack's going to be like the insulation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the other thing as well with going 4S is you're increasing the weight, and when you combine weight with and adding mass to these mini ducted whoops, you start having this problem. And there's an aerodynamic issue in there as well with the ducts. You have this yaw washout problem, which lots of people have had, which is where you're in a steep dive, and as you flatten out, the yaw just kicks out. And it's only a phenomenon that affects ducted quadcopters. So there's something aerodynamically that's going on there, but it's also a mass and an inertia thing. So keeping the battery as light as possible. And this is why one of the only quads that doesn't yaw washout is the Mobula 7. And it's why it's my favorite. The power to weight on that thing is fantastic. No yaw washouts, and it flies beautifully, and it's the lightest of the bunch.
That's an interesting observation on the yaw. I think we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? The yaw washout, because I was saying I was getting it on a couple of quads, and I was wondering if it was the props out scenario, because I noticed the Mobula wasn't doing it, which is props inwards, but of course the Mobula is way lighter than the other stuff I was flying as well.
It's how light it is. I've managed to bring out above a certain weight. If you were to add heavier batteries to the Mobula, you would get it to do it. Absolutely. It's all down to the power to weight and the amount of inertia that's in that thing. And it's something to do with the way it's the lateral airflow over the quad, because it's usually in dives. It's air coming this way, not the natural direction of airflow intake on the props. And there's something about, because obviously yaw is gripped through torque differential, partly. There is partly a torque differential. There's also that torque has to be generated with grip from the props. And there's a way that when you're coming straight down into airflow like this, that the airflow is obviously spoiled by the front of the ducting, and it's spoiling it to the point where the prop is not gripping the air enough to translate that torque into useful yaw and stabilize itself, because that's when the yaw really is tested and put to work, is as you come out of that dive. And obviously at the bottom of a dive as well, that's when the quad weighs the most, because you've got this inertia going this way. The quad at the bottom of a power loop weighs more than it does in a hover, or when it's, that's just how it works. But all of these things together will create your washouts. You need to keep that micro ducted quad as light as possible. And I think this is why my Beta 85X on a 350 milliamp 3S didn't yaw washout on me, but I've seen lots of videos where they are, and I honestly think part of that is just running too heavy a battery.
Well, there's two things to touch on there, and first off, aside from the Beta 85, of course, the Tiny Leader and the Tiny Leader HD also had a lot of problems with failures. If you look at their Facebook page, you would think that everybody has failed, and they seem to be using some sort of bad ESC component. They were getting burnouts on ESC boards and motors letting go, which I think they've upgraded now. Right. I haven't tried one on a 3S yet. I'm still waiting for G&B to get me the right size battery. But one of the points on when you're starting to get into the 85 mil class and you're wanting to do sort of acro outside, one sort of questions, should we still be using the ducted thing? Should we not just go back to using something around the sort of 100 mil 3S flyer that will go really well on 2.5 inch props instead? Because it's like, as soon as they start getting a bit bigger indoors, it's like, well, maybe make it more of just an outdoor micro quad.
I mean, the argument that I've heard to that is that there's less to worry about in terms of safety if you're in an area, whereas there might be a few people walking around and that kind of thing. It's just that peace of mind that your props have prop guards around them. And although it is an 85, it's still, I mean, I still wouldn't class that as anywhere near as intimidating when it's flying as, say, a 4-inch on 2.5 running 4S. That thing still screams, and that thing could still cause some damage if it hit you, whereas the Beta 85, I can fly it into my head and it won't even hurt. Prove it. So but yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the counterbalance the argument. But I know Mr. Shutterbug, that's kind of his idea, is that it's more accepting to take that out and fly it around in areas where there might be a little bit of public around, not like just crowded areas, but you've got less of a problem if you're flying something that's ducted and by all means a lot more safe. So that's possibly where it is.
Thank you, Green
I just find that they're a little bit sluggish compared. If you're in, I always make the point that you need an area that's tight. You need stuff to fly around that's close in to give you that sensation of speed. Because if you're in a big field and you're flying this tiny quad and there's a bit of wind, then it feels very pedestrian, sort of
100%
limping along. Yeah,
100%. It's definitely a lackluster thing to fly out in a big field. The exception to that, I will say, just from my experience today, having finally got out to really push it, was the Mobula 7. I mean, I had so much fun flying that round trees and at speed, but I mean, that is back in that smaller category of ducted quad. That really is just a fantastic little machine, that thing.
Yeah, the Mobula is still my favourite. Ben Good talked to me today actually about the Mobula 7 HD, so I'm hoping that carries through and is still decent.
See, I think with that one, because I know that does the yaw washout thing, and it's that same thing of, unfortunately, there's just this critical weight point where it's it goes past a certain power to weight, and then you have that that your washout problem again. But there's a real subjectivity to this, like there is with all of this stuff. I mean, what are you using it for? If you're indoor, tight spaces, having fun, I don't think any of that's going to matter really. You're going to come away with nice footage and have a good time. So it's just something to consider.
I want one for doing some kind of indoor cool film type. You know, when flying through a car door and then the other one person's inside, and then you fly out through the other one, and then, you know, do like a TV advert style whoopee type HD indoor thing.
That's an awesome pitch. Like you should put that to somebody. Just to, like, what are you doing?
Imagine doing it in like say a restaurant wanted an advert, and then you could get people all in the restaurant eating, but you could just fly around the restaurant past plants, and you could
just hold the
while they're eating and
move it around. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but you could go all under the bar taps. You know, you could make it a really good thing. That's what I want to do with one. Just
for the sake of somebody having to go through that commercial license thing and saying, here is my quad that I'm going to film my commercial stuff with. It's here, and do all the flight tests for it.
Well, yeah, you could get...
Laugh now, but look at the Phantom to the Mavic.
You could get paid for flying indoors as well, because you don't need a license or anything like that.
And you said, sure, is that a rule written down?
Yeah.
I've been paid for flying indoors.
A&O doesn't apply indoors?
That's a good point. Yay! Right, let's hire ourselves out.
The tinfoil hat idiot is right on this one, Curry. I hate to...
It's true. There is a country, isn't there? Somewhere they've come up with the fact that you need to have some sort of license for flying indoors or something, or you have to. There's no flying indoors if you're close to an airport or something like that. Something absolutely ridiculous. I can't remember which country it is, but
we could set up that foundation just to annoy Tony and revoke his permissions.
Piss off.
All right.
I'm doing an advert.
Everybody, for next week, have an advert ready. Something involving flying for a car, as far as I can understand from Tony. I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, just saying, like, it'd be good to, like, imagine being at a car showroom. You fly through the doors while people are opening it, sort of like, I don't know, just use your imagination to sell cars or a restaurant or something like that, and fly places where what they're supposed to do. You know, it's supposed to be a whoop size, fly it in HD and make it.
My advert's going to be me flying around my house and just a title that goes restaurant over the end of it.
Is this the next group challenge? Make an advert.
Make an advert using a city whoop. Everybody has that. I
need to get a city whoop first.
Don't worry, make a low-res advert using a tiny whoop.
Well, this is the whole point of the cine whoop HD, isn't it? This is what I mean. There's going to be flying places. Like, imagine you could do a wedding. You could actually film...
What, just inside?
Just go up in the rafters and do really cool stuff, or fly down through the people.
That's brilliant. It's like this priest up the top there. If anybody knows any lawful impediment, there's this powerlifting little whoop going...
Yeah, but you've got to do you've got to do it cinematically. You can't, like, don't do power loops over the fucking bishop's head.
But what if it's cinematic? What if it's a cinematic power loop? And
they're never cinematic, are they? Look, I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to actually do
what are you going
with.
Tell me what you're going to advertise in this video.
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Come up with the idea before 9 o'clock.
I might gate crash a wedding and film it and then charge them without them knowing. Well, I haven't even had a drink tonight.
I think that's just credit card theft if you're charging them without them knowing, isn't it?
I know what I'm talking about.
Right then. Right, produce an advert, everybody, using a small quad inside somewhere to do something.
Yep, I'm going to. It's going to be brilliant.
Right then.
I might do a washing up themed one.
You missed your calling with the whole domestic cleaning, watching people stream clean and stuff. There's even a game where you like clean up, you clean up murder sites, and you know, after James Bond's gone through.
There you go. Roma's King said, Tony, I'll try to get you to the Chelsea Flower Show. See, that would be exactly brilliant.
Isn't it outside though?
Yes, it is outside, but there probably should be a inside bit, surely.
Indoor fish market. Bit. That's exciting.
Won't
Fly
go
for all
there.
those fish.
No, I won't.
You don't have to eat the fish.
Right,
indoor
where's the
vegetable
mute
market.
button?
Vegetable market.
I'll do that. Yeah.
I think that's just called a greengrocer's, isn't it?
How about a sex shop, Tony? They're indoors.
But
I think someone's already mentioned in the chat a while ago. Yeah, Reminisce King suggested a brothel.
That'll be interesting. There'll be gates that you can't fly through.
I had to once make a delivery to a sex shop when I was working in an office place, because some guy came in and bought a photocopier, then came in the next day and complained about it not working, and it was really affecting his business, and he was a very serious man, and my manager said, go take him a new photocopier. So I went there, and it turned out to be a sex shop, and it's not a shop in the strictest sense. It's like a shop doorway, but you open it and it's like a thin hallway, and when you're carrying a big photocopier through this thin hallway trying to get there, the amount of dildos you can knock off a wall is amazing. There was just a trail of cocks behind me.
Jesus. See, look, the Batwoman says an empty child soft play centre would be good. Scooters, strip bar, Mikey Dread says, a casino, laser quest. See, all these stuff like through Asda, like, you know, there's loads of good advertising there. I'm doing
Asda has got it's got a meat section though, Tom.
Well, I won't go near that, will I?
Mm.
I'm doing this. I'm gonna do this. This is my new thing.
Tell me what you're going to do so we can all try it and see who comes out.
We've fly a Cinewoop indoors and advertise something.
Is this going to
Can
be
you
like
be any more specific?
No, that's your thing. That's what you've got to do.
Is this going to be like the
This is like the tiling whoop challenge, but with a Cinewoop and advertising something.
All right, but if you don't own a Cinewoop, you can use a regular whoop.
No, you have to buy a HD Cinewoop.
That's a bit heavy duty, isn't it? Have you got an HD?
Well, you'll
Cinewoop?
probably get one free, and I'll have to buy it, so you'll be all right.
Well, it works all right for me. I'm just thinking about more inclusive for everybody to try it without having to spend lots of money.
I'm sure everyone's going to get one soon anyway because they're so cool, and they see that the advertising game works. See.
Is this going to be like the Top Gear sponsorship on their racing cars, where it's like Larson's Biscuits and Penniston Oils and things, and then you open the door and it's not that anymore?
Yeah. It's going to be just watch this space.
We've reached a whole new level where we've actually got like trolls in our chat
Wicked.
claiming that this is a homosexual meeting and swearing in Italian.
What?
That's good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I remember once we got a link to a naughty chat site. That was
yeah, but that was you. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And it's not, you know, it's the point of, you know, to take that away is not for you to save it to your bookmarks, Tony.
No.
So is the weather going to stay, do we know? Are we going to be able to fly this weekend?
I'm camping.
I'm going to Canada.
I think tomorrow is meant to be okay again, but I'm not sure about the weekend.
Why are you going somewhere colder, Curry Kitten?
Because I can go skiing when there's snow.
They do cold properly.
They do. Weirdly, though, the entire country doesn't shut down when it snows. They just get on with it, which is bizarre, isn't it?
That's because they have it for more than like a day. So it's worth investing in the infrastructure to deal with it.
Infrastructure. They can drive in the snow. They can take planes off in the snow. It's amazing.
Whatever next.
They don't need to rush out and buy bread and all the milk. Like nutcases.
That's so gay, isn't it? What we do that.
Tony, it's bread. It hasn't got a sexuality.
Like it almost never raises the buy, and yet they don't have post
orientation. That's the word I was thinking. I'm too tired.
Gay as in fun, jolly, like the '60s gay, Jack.
What, like Batman?
Yes.
Or is that 70? No, 66, isn't it?
Goes in jolly and funny.
Oh. So I don't know. So have you still not flown this year?
Yeah, yeah. I was going to today, but I went out on my bike instead. Again.
Tony's defected over to mountain biking. We're going to have to make a new mountain biking podcast so he can talk about what he's been doing.
Oh yeah, he's got new little friends, haven't you? Friends,
bike friends.
I haven't got any bike friends. I go out on my own.
Which comes to my favourite theory: Tony's burying dead hookers out in the forest.
You better watch yourself then, if I am, because I've got a little place for you.
I can't work out if it's multiple hookers or one really just fat one he's had to cut into multiple pieces that is still carrying all around the forest as he goes.
I don't do fat
And if they were mapped in the thing, it spells "fuck Jack," like laid out in the map, and the police are all tying with little bits of string.
So you get taken in to be questioned, and there's just like a map on the wall at the side of the investigation room with just "fuck Jack" written out in map pins.
Yep.
That's how I imagine it. That's how it's going down.
Don't come round, Jack.
No, it's okay. I haven't. Here, I found out a bit of interesting trivia.
Oh,
right.
we can't do Oi Andy RC Your Northern.
No, we can do Oi NJ. How are you good? How are you good looking when you're a quarter Norfolk, quarter Welsh?
I never told him any of this.
And half Caribbean. You got Norfolk. Yes,
there is some Norfolk. I think you can actually say there is some.
Are you and your girlfriend related?
Our genetics could not be further apart.
How did you get out of Norfolk? Isn't there a giant gate around it?
Yeah, my father's from Norfolk, but he moved and worked in London. So,
how did he manage that? Did he slip his lead? Sorry.
If we do have any Norfolk listeners, I first of all apologise, but also to make up for it, here's some helpful information. There's going to be some radio interference because people are testing counter drone technology and GPS jamming and all that kind of thing in Norfolk from basically a couple of days ago for the next couple of weeks, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I wasn't going to give up that easy, but that segue was like, I was like,
beautiful.
Damn it.
They're
Damn you,
testing
NJ.
on 5.8 as well, aren't
Hmm?
Frank knows. Frank's well trained in knowing how to disarm you, Jack.
No.
Didn't
use the code word either.
What is the reason for that jamming thing? Is it a specific drone thing, or is it just trying to jam something for the
It is
some
specifically
exercise?
testing counter drone tech.
Oh, okay. What's going to happen if you're like, oh, I must go to the counter drone place? I've put it in my sat nav because at some point it's just going to just stop, and you're like, I don't know where we are anymore. So it's the sat nav.
Yeah.
It's blocking GPS.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can block GPS unless they're just going to put a massive slab of carbon over your neighborhood.
What they do is they just broadcast a really loud on that frequency of the GPS satellites so that you can't pick up.
Doesn't that block everything though?
Yes.
That requires GPS. So
yes.
Yeah, you can't specifically target one type.
No.
Bizarre. Sounds.
So it means that all the data centers in the area and all the
there's a lot of lost people driving around.
Yeah.
I can't find Tesco anymore.
Yeah, they very rarely do it, but they do sometimes do it, and yeah, it causes trouble.
It's how I remember ages ago, this is when I think Saddam Hussein was still kicking around. They brought down one of the US drones by using like a GPS attack. They basically broadcast a specific GPS frequency to it, so it thought it had to land on its airfield, which was in Iraq at the time, and so they built a statue about it and stuff, as they used to do out there. But it's a sort of a known way of doing stuff. And I guess a GPS drone, what is the Phantom thing to do if it loses all GPS signals? Does it just like panic and land or something, or does it do something else? Do we know?
I don't know. You see, with no GPS, the position holding would obviously disappear. So at that point, even in an attitude mode, it would. I suppose the safe thing would be, well, the safe thing would just be kill the props, fall out of the sky, and land wherever. But you know, you don't want anything with spinning blades to continue to spin towards the ground.
If anyone is in Norfolk and has a Phantom, could
Have we got anyone from
let us
Norfolk in
know.
the chat?
I watched.
Would he just refuse to take off or something? I'm not taking off. It's dangerous.
I watched a drone catch a drone today.
What?
Has anyone seen it?
It sounds like a counter drone.
Yes.
Is this
So
the
a
one with the
drone.
net?
Yeah, it flew up and fired a net at it. It caught the drone and then landed it back.
Do you know what? You always see some military tech trying to be sold, and every time it's being sold, there's always firing a net. Have you noticed that? All military videos of stuff to be sold for catching other stuff is some technology that just fires a net, and then you never see it actually implemented ever in the real world.
I know. It's like someone. It's like they watch Scooby Doo and they're like genius.
Well, have you seen like how skilled you have to be to net like a big cattle?
This was autonomous drone, so it chased the other drone, which could have been autonomous.
How is it?
Is it autonomous because they told you it was, but there was actually some guy hidden around the back?
Who knows? They could have been, but they reckon that it flies up and finds the suspect drone, fires a net, catches it, and brings it back.
Yeah, it's amazing what a sales video will do, wouldn't it?
I like the shotgun cartridges as well that are being sold with like an anti-drone net in them, as if that's going to go more than like 5 feet from the end of the barrel
and not burn up.
Well, it won't catch a racing drone, will it? Let's face it. Maybe we could make a. My brother's got a shotgun.
Has anyone cracked any?
Yes, I've just had a great idea. What we're going to do at my spot: shotguns, nets, and trying to catch a race drone.
We've all got to bring our best counter drone ideas and test them out at Tony's spot.
Yeah. Why don't we just do teamwork where we get one quad at each end of a net, and they have to fly and catch another one?
I could do that.
Capture the flag. We have 2 teams. Each, and we have to get a drone to the other side. It's like British Bulldog, but with drones.
Or we just send Tony. Can you make it to the end of the field before we net you?
I love British Bulldog.
Yeah,
I'll be up for that.
We have to stop the other team's drones from getting through.
It's the only way he didn't have a lawsuit for tackling girls to the floor.
At least I was tackling girls, Jack.
Damn it! There's no other. That's it. It's British Bulldog. There's no other like element I can do anything with that. Oh balls! Damn it! Can I think of anything?
That is exactly what you were after, wasn't it?
No.
Comment there, Black Conduit FPV. They're wasting so much money on this drone catching BS. Are they really that much of a threat? No. And you're absolutely right, but it's the same thing every time there's a media storm followed by the need for a government response for something. It doesn't matter what the subject is, in what sector. There are teams of people sat around who are designed to jump on getting those contracts and making loads of money as soon as possible. Anything that could potentially be a military contract is worth millions that could be used for government stuff. You know, they're going to take those contracts up, whether it's helping us or not. Unfortunately,
yeah, it's
but I made Andy sick. Thanks.
Talking of military thing, you know that little tiny helicopter that's been around for years?
Yeah.
I keep seeing tiny videos of that saying this is amazing and it flies for like half an hour and stuff. But it all sounds like too good to be true to me. Has anybody ever seen any evidence of it doing what it says it can, which is like it can fly anywhere? Really? Because it weighs about an ounce, and if it's going to blow away.
I totally agree. You can't have both. You can't have incredible. You can't have that incredible flight time without that weighing almost nothing, unless they've got some battery technology we don't know about. And if you want it to fly for that long, and if it does do half an hour and it weighs almost nothing, then the elements are going to absolutely batter it. It will have no authority in any kind of conditions, but still weather. So, and what are they? They were like 20-something grand each.
Oh yeah, I thought they're much. Oh, Dave Story's saying check their website.
That's kind of cheap for military tech, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought they were like 100 and something, because most things are. Yeah, because I remember seeing like
I think we should sell them some stuff.
as soon as you start seeing like the army with drones, I've literally seen. Do you remember the Skywalker? Everybody had a Skywalker for a while. The plane at FPV, and essentially it's the same Skywalker with camouflage painted on, being chucked by this army guy. Except now it costs 50 grand instead of like 60 quid. And it's like, what's going on with that? It's like as soon as you slap something on it, say this is army, you can sell it for whatever you like.
I can feel Andrew's voice inside my head going proven concept or something.
No, all it is that military means it goes through a lot of bureaucracy, which means that you have all these stupid contracts and things that have like some weird specification for something that doesn't exist. And then...
and everything has to be. Oh, what was it? I forgot. IBM used to do it. Something 9001. That standard.
ISO 9001.
ISO 9001, which just means that everything you do has to be proven by the fact you've written it down and put it in some storage facility to say this is our procedure for doing it. That is all.
And you don't even have to do that most of the time. You have to
stop talking, Frank.
You have to... Fair enough. But no, the military stuff, like they'll probably have on something somewhere that it must run Windows 95, and you're like, that's completely irrelevant. But it's like, no, it's a requirement in the contract. So then you spend like a load of money making a thing that can do that for no particular reason. I mean, it's just the military procurement process is long and stupid.
I believe when you order the kit with all the instructions, it comes with a massive roll of red tape. They do give you that free.
Sounds about right. Yeah. But no.
All right, we've got to get in on some of these military contacts. They sound like it's worthy.
Can you imagine Tony trying to invent something for the military?
It's all right. We'll just have him fly through some car doors inside and just say military advert using a cine whip.
You're taking a piss, Curry, but this advert.
I'm very sincere. I'm looking forward to this advert.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna be well gel.
So Let's Drone Out is going to expand from podcasts this year out into adverts and military technology.
Or as we call it, the private sector, I think.
I can fly my big quad somewhere and put some bombs on it or something.
Yeah, just put some camo on it and call it the Hunter Killer Drone. And we'll sell it for like £500,000.
Yeah, already there.
All right, we've got a business plan together now.
Yeah, I think we should quit this show right now. Let's go.
I demand to see your military prototype at Minear show.
Okay. We'll just paint it green.
There are people at Minear, or there is at least one person at Minear show who has the contacts to make that happen. So, bring it along. Have fun.
We'll be firing smoke grenades via my Tyrannus.
Very nice. Have you got your what's it called? The E-match is set up.
Yep, already on the transmitter.
Nice.
Tony's like, how do you spell that? Don't forget, Tony, you've got to write everything down. I'm dyslexic as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh my god.
The other thing that makes military tech really expensive is that they refuse to use commercial electronics chips quite often for various different reasons. And then you end up having to have like specific dies made up to make the little chips specifically for that, because they don't trust them to not have a backdoor in there to do other things or whatever. And that gets very expensive as well, because then you're only making like 100 chips for...
You've got to make your own chips. That's really hard. Those are tiny.
Well, developing it and making sure it's all EM compliant and all that kind of thing, and then only making a small number of them for the number of ones that they actually make. And then the military goes, oh, actually, we can't afford 100 of them. We're only going to buy 80. And you're like, well, it doesn't make a difference because you're still ordering the same.
Surely isn't that past the point of prototype, though? Surely you'd be at contract stage before you were going to invest that kind of money. Surely you could prototype with something commercial based to prove a concept, and then if the contract's approved, you can spend the money on.
But that's the point, is that they decide that the cost-cutting way to do it is to reduce the number of things that they're ordering when that doesn't actually change much of the cost.
Well, it only costs about $1 billion to set up a chip fabrication factory, so that's a bit of an outlay.
Have you heard about the guy who got a couple of dies made in the waffle pack, and bloody customs opened them up, and you know they didn't seal them back properly, and they went everywhere, and they're all the pins were bent, and you like have to order everything in 5,000s, don't you?
Oh my god! Cheers, Slider FPV.
Thank you, Slider.
Well, I think we should have
nearly got my goddamn thumb again. These are highly dangerous.
Can we provide Tony with those extension light things?
All he needs is one of those, the little like creme brulee torch,
blowtorch, yeah,
from back here to light it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe LDO people are here for the danger.
Yeah,
I think they're all trying to hurt Tony, which I support.
Health and safety reasons, we'll have to see about that. Really.
Cheers, Slider.
He signed the waiver.
Appreciate
that.
Oh, we haven't done the disclaimer. Have you got the disclaimer, Jack?
Yes.
Tape it to the monitor.
I will. Hang on. It's in Curry Kitten. Hang on.
Yeah, he's probably the loosest cannon of all of us, to be fair.
Any views expressed by any guest or host on this show are personal and may not reflect the views of Let's Drone Out or any participant of the show. We're all idiots. Don't listen to us. Please don't sue us.
Yeah, Curry.
You have to say amen at the end.
What have I done?
Curry Kitten, what's this about? Did I miss it? Was I asleep? Did you not feeling it lately and breaking stuff?
Oh, I broke so much stuff lately. I ended up throwing this flight controller against the wall because I spent so many hours on it. I got a video coming out on this tomorrow, which is called Review Fail. This is it's a really nice board. It's from FreeSky. It's the OmniNex F7 board, and it has on board the R9mm receiver, and it had really nice pin layout, nicely thought out. It has 2 IMUs in it. It's like, oh, this is going to be really cool to fly. Until I had to upgrade the firmware on it. And
oh god, and then you need an inverter, USB dongle, and
no, it's worse than that. If it was, it would be great.
What is with FreeSky, man, and updating stuff?
Here's what you had to do: you have to take this plastic thing off the top, and then you have to get the little R9mm, which is really delicately placed on this ribbon cable, and then you have to solder 3 connection points to that little thing. And then you have to connect that to the back of your Tyrannus and upgrade the firmware. Now, first they said, when I got it, upgrade to the latest firmware. So I did, using the R9mm firmware. And I plugged it into USB and it didn't power on. And I thought, oh, I need power. So I put power through the ESC using the right pins. And that powered up the receiver. And I bound the receiver and that was all okay. Then I plugged it back in USB and nothing happened. So I had to then call FreeSky and say, oh, I think it's broken. I just plugged it into power and it's wrong. And then they said, oh, you've just probably put the wrong firmware on it. You have to use the specific one for the board, which wasn't available when they said update the latest firmware. But
it wasn't.
So I downloaded that and it only works on F port. So I thought, okay, maybe there's some weird wiring thing in there. So I've obviously unsoldered all the bits from it to fit it back in. So then I take it all out again. I solder all my 3 connections. My 3rd connection to the S port. Just a little. This is how it looked. This is my real-time soldering of that wire. That was enough to take the solder pad off, which is like, oh, that's broken. Now what do I do? I had to talk to FreeSky again, already embarrassed at this stage, saying, hey, I just broke something else. Anything I could do? They said, yeah, solder it to the corner of these 2 resistors on there, which I did very delicately, and I thought I had a good connection. Plugged it back into the Tyrannus to try and flash it. Did not work, didn't get a response from it. I thought, oh, let's try a little bit more solder on there. Let's try a better connection. Splurge goes the solder. Oh, no. So trying to take that off and like, oh, I'm sure there were some resistors there. So, but yeah, basically I buggered the R9mm for sure. But I was like, I'm still suspicious that this board isn't working. So I removed the R9mm completely, plugged it in using the power, plugged it in using USB. It's dead. At that point, I threw it against the wall and got slightly fed up with it.
Set
And
on fire. It feels great.
after all this, Free Sky then said, "Oh, yeah, we've been talking to the engineers about this, as it sounds like you had some trouble." And Oscar got one of these, and Oscar's better at this stuff than me, and he managed to damage the ribbon cable while he was doing his. So he had to take separate connectors on the R9MM and run them onto the normal pins on the flight control as well. So it's a stupid thing. But they finally said that they've worked out their wireless protocol. So soon you'll be able to update R9 receivers using a wireless protocol, much like you can on the Crossfire. But of course, before you can do that, you'll probably have to update the receiver manually with the right firmware level to support wireless.
That's a prototype. That's not actually something you can buy.
This is the released product right now.
Holy, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
So as Fly Monkey says in the chat, FR Sky, good ideas executed poorly. So we've
they do their usual things. Is release
Tony CEO.
Use the public to beta test it.
Yeah. So when they said to me, they sent me a diagram. So you need to connect to S-port, ground, and voltage to do this. I thought, and I actually got the pins here. I thought they meant, oh, you connect to the flight controller, there's going to be a pass through. No, and I was like, it's not working. And when I sent them the picture of what I did, they said, oh no, you have to take it out of the thing. I was like, really?
Yeah, because you want consumers in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that is 100% just dumb.
Me being as careful as I can has completely killed. And I mean, it's not. I mean, you get a lot in it. It's not a bad price for what you get. It's like $61, but that's when you're dealing with really delicate things that you. Yeah, because R9 is so beta, you're going to have to go in and out of there 4 or 5 times potentially to keep upgrading the firmware, and that is gonna break, because that is delicate, to say the least.
If you've got reviewers struggling to do this stuff that are fiddling and dealing with these electronics all the time, and you're still getting problems, I mean, what's that going to be like to the mass public? It's that's just such a terrible. I don't know how stuff like that gets out the factory door. Like,
are there any
they sit in the room and go, "Yep, we've nailed it, guys. This is the way everyone's going to update. It'll be great."
Are there any combined receiver flight controllers that are good?
That's a good point. The last one I had was an FR Sky one, and it was unfortunately had a terrible choice of gyro in it, which made it unusable. There's a coincidence. None are coming off the top of my head, but maybe someone in chat knows.
Give it 30 seconds for the delay, and I'm sure Andy RC will pipe up.
But I mean, there is a problem with it, because the idea is you get to like save space in that, but you probably can't see it. If I hold it close, you can see these 2 boxes. One was to hold the IMU, one was to hold the R9MM. Actually converts to quite a thick section, so you're not really saving any space. It'd be much better just to have this box that was in R9MM and just have it slightly back from there, and I think it'd be easier to fit in.
There's enough room in there to get both those sensors in one of those blocks. I don't understand the need to suddenly make your flight controller that chunky. That's a cluster something, is what I think of that. How you're looking at it. And again, like, there's got to be people in other departments of FR Sky that have developed some great ideas on that board, as you've mentioned, and they're just like, who dealt with the other part of this? It's like they all just aren't talking, all the people that are developing different areas of that board.
I can't work out. Everything about the R9 seems to have, like, if you look at the 2.4 stuff that Free Sky's done, I think it's really good. I think they've got some really good stuff there. But as soon as the R9 came out, and it's pretty much based around the same hardware as Crossfire used, everything's gone horrifically wrong. I don't understand. It's like, did they hire in some people that are just like, yeah, we're experts, no worries, and they're just like, oh, we were just bluffing all the time? I don't get it. But yeah, not good.
I hate that. It's so common though, where you get everything you get a product that gets so many things right, and then there's one thing that is so obviously a critical failure, yet it still goes out the door. And
can you imagine that with cars? Like, we've made this like highly efficient. It's really fast. It's great. We put the driving seat backwards.
Yeah, it's literally like that.
Isn't it?
Like, unfortunately, we have had to sacrifice the front axle for jelly. But if you're all cool with that, this car's amazing.
Yeah, we've made it so you can't turn left. but you can fix this by flashing the turn right 3 times protocol. So when you try turning left,
it's just
is
bizarre.
that right? Hang on, 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, yeah.
I know the hobby moves fast, but this is it. There's this constant need to get things out. You know, there's a cutoff point. We want it out the door by this point. If there's some kind of critical problem, it's just these companies refuse to extend it or to try and fix it. They're just like, it's too late, put it out the door. I can't understand that, because it's you're just going to start alienating people from your products. You'll stop being trustworthy.
Yeah, I don't get. I mean, I worked in. It was software, but I worked in testing, and it's like it's not working. We can't release it. It's as simple as that. It's not passing these tests. It's got these functional problems. We're going to have to delay this. Releasing something that's bad hurts much worse than a scheduled update being delayed. And I did speak to my contact at FreeScale. He probably won't be speaking to me after tomorrow again, but and I said to him, I said, you've got a problem with the R9, and your problem is your lack of transparency between what's going on. So you're not, on your website, you're saying firmware update, fix bugs. Well, you know, which bugs? And you're not saying, we know about these bugs and they will be fixed in this release. So everybody's coming back and saying, I found a bug and I'm reporting a bug, but no one's acknowledging that that's been reported or that's been fixed. They're just like, yeah, here's another fix. It fixes some bugs. We're not telling you which ones they are. We'll occasionally mutter something about RSSI, and that's about it.
It's the same with companies, you know, like for instance, RunCam, and you know, Andy pointed to this, which was that their Split Mini, the latest version, they had a lot of jello problems with it, and they fixed it silently by changing to an M12 lens, which is the same as the one that the Turtles V2 runs. It doesn't have a lot of jello, well, it has no jello problems, but they did it quietly. They didn't all, you know, they're a reputable company that all they had to do was put a post out and say, we're changing lens now because of the problems we had. I hope that fixes things for people. Instead, they did it quietly, like no one was going to notice. And you think, hang on, people trust RunCam. If you start doing stuff like that, you're going to upset the people who trust you and your products. You know, that's a real stab in the back to the people who've bought one and got one of the lenses with the problem. But there's, I don't know, is it a shame thing? Is that like they have a problem saying, we messed up, don't worry, we'll fix it? Which is what we all want. We want them to acknowledge the problem, or even worse is to give some excuse that we immediately know is BS and we see straight through it.
Yeah, I think Full Speed were coming up with, I think our warehouse had some, it was too dry and this created condensation or something on the ESCs, and that's why all the tiny leaders blew up.
Yeah, it's it's exactly the same with this 85X. The beta FPV have turned around and said it's a problem with our ESC, and I've like, well, if that problem exists, I should have fried mine today when I went out and pushed the hell out of it when I was out flying it. But what I think the problem was the PIDs that you provided with it are way over the top and mad. I've retuned it, and I'm pushing the hell out of it, and it's absolutely fine. So have you got an inconsistent problem with it? Tell us what the problem with the electronics is. Give me a reason to believe what you say. But just they're just excuses to me until I see evidence of the problem. Anyway,
it might be that they honestly believe that that's the problem, but it's, you know, they're trying to work it out as well from getting these reports back. If, you know, if they've made their prototypes and their pre-production models and it's all worked fine for them, and then all of a sudden they're getting news back that, oh, something's gone horribly wrong, they've got to work out, is it the storage, is it the shipping, is it the users, is it the supplier, is there a batch gone wrong?
But that's right. It's the lack of transparency, which goes back to what you were saying earlier. In which case, don't say there's a problem with the ESC until you know there's a problem with the ESC. Just say we're looking into it.
Yeah.
Collect data. It's the lack of transparency.
It's true.
That a lot of these companies are doing it, and the problem is we see straight through.
Crash Test FPV says if they admit it, they have to pay to fix it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't think the law carries over to China. It's just like whatever.
No, but the greatest hurt, that expense will be dwarfed if you by alienating your customer base.
Yeah.
Because if they all disappear, doesn't. It'll hurt a lot more if your profits plummet.
In the name of transparency, we have gone way over time this week. I know we have a special guest that Jack has lined up in a couple of weeks' time. I think we're still.
I'm praying that will go all right.
It will be very interesting if it is. And then next week, is there a plan? I think there was talks of a plan, but I don't think we've got a plan firmly sorted out yet.
My plan is to not be here.
Out.
There we go. But for our Patreons, thank you very much for continuing to support us. There is some progress being made on some sticker sheets. So we hope to be able to kind of repay your loyalty and support.
And patience.
Yes.
With us more than anything. And yeah, Paul also messaged me and pointed something blatantly obvious out to me, and I was like, I so overlooked that. So we might amend or try to amend some of that as soon as Jack is Jack can function again.
Well, how many weeks have you been at work now, Jack?
3.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
3 weeks, or do you mean 3 days?
And on that
Fuck off,
note,
Tony.
I think it's time to end the show. Jack, do you want to sign us off?
Too tired for a comeback. Yes, thank you. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it. You were joined by Andrew / Frank.
Goodbye.
The sexy NJ Tech.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Norfolk, Carrot, Tractor. But Tony burying dead hookers in Crawley Forest.
Oh,
Gary,
this needs cutting, seriously.
Gary Kitten throwing stuff at the wall.
Bye. We'd just like to point out that not all mountain bikers bury hookers in the woods, just Tony.
And Sleepy Jack.
And Sleepy Jack. Those thoughts in your mind were true.
Jesus.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.